Not again.
Really? Guys, I know your Vermintide questions are important, okay? But it's Sunday morning, okay? Just because I gave you the spell and means to summoning me doesn't mean you could just wave it around and summon me at any given time. This better be important. Okay, let's see what we got here. So hypothetical viewer 69 is struggling with the billhook. I see, okay. In today's video, the billhook, the only weapon that can hook your assassins and assassinate your hookers.
Wait a minute!
That came out wrong. The Griffon-foot, is it better than the Ravenclaw? I don't know. I don't know much about like bird scratch mechanics, but like I would think so.
By Sigma, you've posted cringe. Prepare to be judged.
What is up, guys? PK here, and in today's video we're gonna be talking about the Griffon-foot and the billhook. Now, I asked you guys in the javelin video which weapons you guys would like me to look at next, and these two in particular came up. I think in the next one we're probably going to talk about something like the Bretonnian sword and Bretonnian sword and shield, maybe also include the halberd. I'm trying to keep it to sort of fairly complicated weapon, not necessarily, I wouldn't call the Griffon-foot complicated, but like weapons that have very specific ways of being played that require some sort of some knowledge, unlike sort of a weapon like the Axe and Falcon, where you almost can't do the wrong attack combo, whereas some weapons require specific inputs in order to function well. And for those weapons, I think it can be really tough sometimes to actually learn to love the weapon. I know I had that issue with the billhook in the beginning, because if a weapon requires multiple different situation-specific attack combos in order to be effective, but is then really effective, then what you're going to find is that you'll try it out once or twice, and it's going to feel horrific, and you're not going to enjoy yourself, and you'll drop the weapon, right? You'll go back to your comfort zone. I'm going to try and do my best to give you guys a couple of tips and tricks on how to sort of overcome that and how to make that easier. And then, because when you guys suggested the Griffon-foot, I was like, come on guys, really? That was my, I'm not going to lie, that was my first thought. I was like, really? Really? The Griffon-foot? Because here's the thing, let's just get one thing straight, guys. The Griffon-foot is an absolutely horrendous weapon, okay? If you look at its viability, it is viable on all difficulties, right? All in-game difficulties. Yeah, I'd say you could even get it to work on higher, like on modded realm difficulties, if you know what you're doing, right? But you would still be at a disadvantage compared to the brace of pistols, for example. Now, I wouldn't compare one-to-one with the brace of pistols, because again, they serve different functions, as we will get into as well. But it does have the problem of, like, as soon as something is medium to long range, it really struggles. So it's not good at taking out specials at long distances. However, a specific build that we're gonna take a look at today sort of changed my mind. Like, I played it a couple of times with the zealot, and you know, I got it to work, don't get me wrong. I guess, as I said, it's not like it's that much worse than so many other equivalent weapons that just happen to not be the single most broken weapon for that class in the current meta, right? So it's not, I don't want to discourage you guys from using it, but I also want to make it clear that like, there is zero scenarios, in my opinion, where, like, if you pulled a gun to my head and said, you know, if you don't win this game with this Saltzpyre, right, there's zero scenarios where I would pick the Griffon-foot over the brace of pistols, over the volley crossbow, over the single shot crossbow. So I just want to make that clear. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some interesting things. Okay, so here we are in the keep with the billhook, which kind of looks more like a glaive than Kirillion's actual glaive, but let's leave that aside for now. First of all, let's take a look in the armory. Now, the first and third light attack in the sequence are poke attacks, so-called, you know, like, imagine a stab, right? So you sort of do a single target, high DPS attack that has armor damage and almost no cleave. Then you have the second attack in the combo, which has both linesman modifier, which gives it extra cleave, and it's also a cleaving attack. Then you got the push block attack, which is almost identical to the light 2 attack, the only difference being that the push block attack has a slightly better angle in the attack, making it slightly easier for cleaving in of itself. Then you got the heavy 1 and 2, both of which deal sort of heavy armor damage. They're single target, high DPS. The second attack deals more than the first. That's also important to know. Also because the second one is an overhead attack. Now, on top of that, you have like mid-ranging mobility, 3 effective dodges, 15% dodge speed, normal push block modifiers. But really, a lot of this weapon's sort of power comes from the weapon special, the stagger mechanic, which we'll get to momentarily. But first of all, and this is the first thing you should think about with any weapon you're trying to learn before you think about armor damage or anything else. The single first thing you need to figure out with any weapon you're trying to learn is how are you going to deal with trash minions, with infantry. And why is that the first thing? Well, first of all, that is what's going to kill you most of the time. It's way easier to dodge a couple of elites around, but trash minions will surround you. And usually it's the combination of the two that's most dangerous. But even when you have the combination of the two, it's always the trash that you need to think about the most. So it's also quite often your method for generating temp HP. If you can't deal with trash, you can't deal with anything, pretty much, right? So that should always be your first priority. Now, the attack sequence here is really quite simple. There are 2 variations, right? Because what we want to do is we want to maximize the amount of push block attacks and the amount of light 2 attacks. In theory, that's super easy. Push block, light, push block, light, push block, light. And that's pretty much it, right? You would think, because push block light, well, we have a double cleave attack here. That's 100% cleaving attacks, and we're good, right? No, because you're gonna run out of stamina in exactly 3 attack combos. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, right? And then you're out of stamina, so that doesn't work. So what do? Well, we add another 2 attacks to the chain. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the push block attack first, right? Into the second light attack, and then we're gonna continue with 2 more light attacks. And this is a little bit counterintuitive, but what that's going to do in this case is it's essentially going to queue up from scratch and go light attack 1 and light attack 2 afterwards. And what that means is that you actually have a chain where push block attack, light attack 2, right? So 2 cleave, light attack 1, that's a poke, light attack 2, that's a cleave, right? So we have 3 out of the 4 attacks, 75%, that have cleave. And that's going to chain up sort of a long enough chain for your stamina to regenerate. So push block, light, light, light. Push block, light, light, light. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And so that combo needs to be in, like, that's the first combo you need to worry about. Which brings me to one of the things that can often go wrong when people try a complicated weapon for the first time. You might go watch a melee mastering mechanics video by someone named Partnaf, right? And you'll be like, okay, so that's one combo, that's the second, that's the third, you're gonna go in a game, and the moment you're under pressure, you're like, what was that combo again, right? So what you wanna do, because you're always gonna suck the first time you try the Billhook. You're always gonna suck when you try a complicated weapon for the first time. You need to accept that ahead of time. And then instead, you need to pick one combo at a time. And I would start with the infantry combo here, right? Where you just say, okay, whatever happens, I remember this one combo for the next game. And you play the game, you don't worry about the fact that you may not be using the correct armor sequence, doesn't matter. This is the one combo, you're just gonna remember that, play the whole game remembering that, right? And then once you have that in your fingers, which I think 1 or 2 games at most, and you got that. Trust me, you got that. Once you've used it under pressure, it sticks. So after that, then you can start worrying about, okay, what do we do against armored minions, right? So against armored minions, it's quite simple. You guys probably already know this one. Obviously, like when you just want to deal damage, you're just going to heavy. So that's, you know, not much thinking there. But really, the trick is to use weapon special attack and then heavy attack, right? That's going to queue up your best, let's turn off light. That's going to queue up your best heavy attack. And really a huge part of playing this weapon well is your ability to sort of flexibly control a bunch of the elites, right? So you want to use the weapon special whenever you have a Chaos Warrior, for example, that's attacking, where you can't actually dodge the attack. That's when you want to use your weapon special. Because what it does is it guarantees a stagger straight into stagger 2, right? So not only are you gonna like cancel the attack of the Chaos Warrior, but you're also putting him straight in stagger 2, which if you have mainstay, for example, would put him straight at 60% extra damage, right? So that's super useful. and sort of the utility of being able to control elites like that is just absolutely amazing, right? And difficult, but amazing. It takes practice, but once you get it, it's really like one of the best weapons in the game for sure. So that's gonna be the armor combo. You can also just queue up heavy attacks again, as I said. And then whenever there's one of those attacks there where you're like, can I make that dodge? If the answer is no, you put in the hook attack, right? Because it's a guaranteed stagger. It also costs you half a shield, sorry. 1 stamina, half a shield. So that's important to know. It only does that if you actually encounter a minion. So you see, no stamina cost here. Stamina cost here, nope, because it's a dummy. But here, there's a stamina cost, right? The third and final combo you need to know is the single target infantry / boss damage combo. And this one is a little bit tricky, and it's essentially just a sequence of light attack cancel, light attack cancel, light attack cancel, light attack cancel, which sounds super duper easy. It's a little bit counterintuitive. It's essentially just a poking combo, and obviously it gets a little bit more difficult when you proc Swift Lane, because then you're going to be doing it faster, right? And it takes a bit of practice. There's no doubt about it, but it's extremely satisfying once you get used to it. But the trick here is that the moment you're there, right? The moment the weapon encounters the enemy, that's when you cancel, right? And the moment the weapon is back here, that's when you attack, right? So you don't attack before that. So you sort of get into sort of a really nice... So just do it slowly like this. And then once you get used to it, you can actually do it like in a single sequence where you're like right click, left click, like in one fluent move. But that takes a little bit of practice though. So I wouldn't start with that, right? Start out by simply canceling here, attacking here. Okay? Canceling there, attacking there, right? So sort of opposite. Whenever you're attacking, you're canceling. Whenever you're canceling, you're attacking. If that makes sense. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about regarding the Billhook, at least mechanically speaking. So let's move on to the Griffon-foot. Now, the Griffon-foot, let's take a look here. Let's see what it says, right? Obviously, let's just turn off our talents off here, and let's try to take a look at it in the armory. Okay, so let's take a look at the Griffon-foot, right? Wow, this weapon is just... I mean, I like the handles here, but like the actual weapon looks... it looks so stupid from here. Anyways, in the armory, right? You can see 1.5 armor damage. It has linesman and 7.5 infantry base damage. Now, the incredible thing about this weapon is really in its cleave, okay? So if I, like, as you can see, right now the lobby is on Cataclysm. And let's just say I were to find Plague Monks here, right? And this is completely clean, without any power or anything, right? Absolutely destroys them, right? But if you were to take equivalent storm vermins, right? It's gonna be a long day, right? So the thing about the Griffon-foot, it's also like there are no breakpoints as far as I know yet. The breakpoint calculator is not updated with the Griffon-foot, and so I had to manually count, okay, the amount of numbers, which might sound simple. So, like, I had to have a bunch of screenshots, and I've concluded that it has 18 pellets. 6 per barrel, which would make sense. So, in other words, in theory, you can multiply this number by 18 in order to get at the actual damage, which would be 27 in armor damage, right? Which you would then put your modifiers and power versus properties and talents, all that stuff, on top. But that's not really effective, right? Because the thing is, you're very rarely, like, unless you're literally this close, right? You have to be this close, like two, maybe 3 meters at most, right? To actually hit with all the shots. The advantage it has is that this counts as a headshot, right? So with conservative shooter, for example, that's all I need for a headshot. It's important to note that I would not get 2 shots, even if you do like that. You still only get 1 shot, but this counts as a headshot, even if only a single pellet. There we go, single pellet. Then you still get your ammo back, so that's important to note. One thing you can do, which is also what I wanted to show you guys with the bracer pistols here. Let's try to hop over on the bounty hunter. Let me show you guys. So there's a trick you can do with the bracer pistols that allow you to shoot a lot faster. And like, as you can see, you're sort of like bouncing the same pistol again and again. And really what you're doing is like between each shot, right? Between each shot here, and I'm just taking it nice and easy here, but between each shot, you're aiming, right? You could be doing like this, left click, left click, left click, left click. You could also be doing this, where you're, right? But then there's the third option, which is that between each shot, you right click, left click, right? You see what I mean? And that's going to give you that really nice sort of almost like a burst mechanic, where you shoot several times with the same pistol, which also just looks really cool, let's be real. And it's also a lot of fun. It takes a little bit of practice to sort of get it through, especially in the middle of a game. But it's a really nice mechanic, but that doesn't exactly work on the Griffon-foot. Unfortunately, it would be really cool if it did. Right, so this is a really neat mechanic for sort of bursting out a couple of shots a little bit faster, right? And it's super useful, so I would recommend that you guys sort of practice it. If nothing else, then just because it looks cool as hell. But with the Griffon-foot, the only real sort of equivalent you have, which is not exactly as useful, is that you can do a shield bash, not a shield bash, sorry, like just a bash attack in between, which does actually increase your attack speed slightly. So if we compare here, right? So if you compare that to this, you can see you can actually force a faster animation in, albeit not much faster, right? So it's a little bit faster, but it's still not that much, right? And again, that's kind of the issue with the Griffon-foot pistol in general, is that it's not really good at longer ranges. But guys, this is the big but, okay? This is the big but. And no, I'm not talking about the one I was obviously smashing before being summoned by a flaming portal and arriving in a ball of fire. Stay on topic, guys. I am talking about a build. You see, my initial problem with making this video about the Griffon-foot is not so much that I couldn't tell you guys all the things about the Griffon-foot, like 18 pellets, so on and so forth, but I really felt like what I was lacking was a unique build that I could apply it to. See, it's not that, like, I didn't have any problems taking the Griffon-foot and applying it into an already existing build, right? So like I made a zealot build, for example, that I played a bit with, which worked, you know, as well as you could expect, right? But that was really just taking the Griffon-foot and sort of putting it into something like a pre-existing frame that you know worked, right? So just a standard Billhook zealot build, but now with the Griffon-foot, right? It didn't really offer anything unique that only the Griffon-foot could provide. But that's the thing. I saw it, guys. That's when I saw it. That's when I had a glorious idea for a build that, I mean, it may just be the single most glorious build on a bounty hunter of all time. Not gonna lie. It may just be. It's definitely not a meta build, so it's viable but not competitive, right? So this is not something I would recommend if you're doing something incredibly difficult. But for quick play, it's hilarious, okay? Now, if I was being serious, I would very likely be getting the rapier as my melee weapon for this build. But let's be real, the moment we decided to use the Griffon-foot, we kinda already gave up on the whole serious part. So for that reason, I decided that that this smashing but for that reason I decided that the absolutely smashingly beautiful brawly hunter, for the sake of some meme, I decided that yes, we're gonna be using the two-handed sword, because it's just too glorious to look like someone from an 1800s masquerade party wielding Frostmourne. Just look at that.
Stop it. Get some help.
If that doesn't terrify you, I don't know what does. Possibly, potentially, could also use the flail, you know. Looks good, looks good. But why, PK? Why are you talking so much about the melee weapon? Isn't this all about the Griffon-foot? Well, yes and no. You see, this build is quite glorious. You see, this is indeed a true brawling bounty hunter. And by that, I mean it is in fact a melee bounty hunter. Yes, that is, you heard me right. This is a melee focusing bounty hunter. Now, how does that work and even become remotely viable? Well, that's the genius. You see, I'm gonna explain after because I'm gonna get all my ammo back if I look at my talents. Now, the idea behind this build is quite simple, right? I start out the game, right? I shoot all my, I waste all my ammo, right? So I'm gonna start out as soon as possible. I wanna have no ammo, right? Now we're gonna have a sort of a work in between having Hunter on the Griffon-foot. That's important, okay? And the first thing you're gonna notice is when we kill this elite, boom, we get 8 shots. Those 8 shots, exactly 1 full clip, is automatically going to be put into our clip, right? So it's automatically reloading 8 shots for it. Well, that's great. So what do we do now? Well, now we have 8 shots, obviously. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use those 8 shots as soon as all of them are reloaded. This is going to do 2 things, right? Because we've just been fighting melee, right? We've just been fighting melee because we used all our shots. Now we're fighting melee, right? Then all of our shots get reloaded, and that's going to put us in a situation where 3 things are going to happen. First of all, we have a guaranteed critical hit. That's going to proc Hunter. Secondly, because we just meleeed, we have 6 charges on the talent that's essentially going to give us extra power on our next 6 shots. And thirdly, once we run out with these 8 shots, coincidentally, not only are we proccing Hunter, but the moment we run out of shots, not only do we have 6 charges ready for melee, we also have Hunter applied on whichever minion we decided to shoot with our critical hit, and we have Steel Crescendo. Now, what Steel Crescendo does is it gives us 15 seconds with 15% extra power and 15% extra attack speed. Now, that's actually kind of insane if you think about it. So what we can do with this build is really quite interesting, actually. Really quite interesting. We spend all of our ammo. Boom. We go melee, because now we have Hunter versus that target. 6 charges. Right? We kill something. Whoops. We keep meleeing. Oh, our shots are back. Boom. Crit, right? That means now we're gonna melee. We have Steel's Crescendo on. We have our charges. We have Hunter. We have literally 25% extra power and 15% extra power. Multiplicatively, that is, with each other. Plus we have 50% attack speed, right? As soon as that all goes through, right, we kill an elite enemy. And as soon as we kill the elite enemy, get 8 shots. After we get those 8 shots, our weapon is reloaded. Once it's reloaded, we switch. Once we do the switch, we start just spamming, you know, all of our shots here. We run out of ammo, we get Steel Crescendos back, and the cycle repeats. And the great thing is that it actually keeps reloading our clip even whilst we're meleeing, right? So as soon as we got our ammo back, it's actually way more insane than I thought. Like, it's actually, we can actually have Steel Crescendo up almost all the time. Like, long enough that it actually affects our range damage, right? And like, the great thing is, so what if someone's last hitting all the elites for you? Well, as you will see momentarily, it even works with the ulti, and you'll just automatically reload. Boom. So this is essentially the build. I'm actually almost stunned, like, at how glorious this is. Like, this is actually glorious. This might actually be my new favorite bounty hunter build, and I haven't even played a single game with it yet. I mean, just think about it. It all plays perfectly together, right? Steel Crescendo, firing last shot, 15% attack speed and power for 15 seconds. We got Assassin for the increased headshot damage and increased critical hit shot damage. You could also, I thought about getting enhanced power as well. Even thought about getting Smiter actually, but I don't think Smiter is worth it. I would say Assassin is better, especially with Rapier for those headshots. So I would probably be going for Assassin, but enhanced power would actually also be an option. Blessed Combat, every time you use your melee, you get power for your next ranged. Every time you damage, sorry, every time you use your ranged, you get damage for your next power. And this has the perfect balance between you're constantly flickering back and forth, constantly, like, because that's what it's all built around, right? So just think about it. Okay, so let's just say that we have our standard damage on a certain weapon, right? It could be the Rapier, for example, which already has extra headshot damage. And then plus Assassin, that's extra headshot damage as well. But like when we factor in, let's just try and give it a shot here, see actually how much it is. Of course now we have to waste all ammo. But I'm curious to see the actual comparative damage. Let's see, heavy attack charged 52.5 or the armor 16.5. Okay, so let's see when we use all of our ammo here, right? Because like we should be getting, like on top of our base damage, we're getting first a 25% increase, then we're getting a multiplicative 15% increase on top of that, and then on top of that we're also getting another 15. Let's make sure they're both in the same shot here. 42, 72, like. And that wasn't even the heavy charge. That was the quick charge. 73, 119. Like, that is actually insane, right? Because all the 15% here multiplied by the 15% here, multiplied by the 25% from Hunter, plus you got the 40% from Assassin, and you're never gonna run out of ammo. Like, it's actually. I actually think this can work. Like, I genuinely think this could be like, it's not gonna be the meta build, but I honestly think this could be a how do I put it? Because it is kind of a meme build in that you're a melee bounty hunter, but I also think that like this is like, the synergy here is strong enough that it doesn't have to be a meme build. Like I may be wrong, because as I said, I haven't played this build at all. Like, this was a realization that came to me as like right before I made this part of the record. I was like, wait a second. So I really felt like the video needed something to tie it all together, you know. Again, as I mentioned before, because I didn't really feel like there was a unique build where I could say this would work, you know, because of the Griffon-foot. And I feel like this works because of the Griffon-foot. Like, genuinely, I don't feel like there's any of the other weapons that would do this as well. Now, you could also, in theory, do this with the repeater pistol, but honestly, I feel like the Griffon-foot is the perfect weapon for this occasion. Now, as for the melee weapon, I don't know, man. You could be going for everything from the Billhook, the Rapier, but I don't know. I have a feeling about. This is so stupid, right? But I don't know why, but. The goddamn two-handed sword, it's calling me. It's calling me. Just because it would be so funny. Like, genuinely. If there's a weapon that does not fit the bounty hunter, it's the goddamn Frostmourne. Oh, like, check this out. That's not all bad. Like, attack speed comparatively, isn't? That could be way worse. Like, I think the Rapier is definitely the better choice, but Frostmourne hungers. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed yet another, I don't even know what the hell this video was. Like, I was about to say yet another weapon video, but like, let's be real. This was all about the bounty hunter meme build in the end. It was all about the Brawly bounty hunter. Anyways, I look forward to having half of the Vermintide community blaming me in my comment section for causing the inevitable tsunami of defeats and lost grimoires that is about to hit the legend quick play queues, as the average win rate drops by over 50% due to a very suspicious and highly mysterious case of mass delusion amongst bounty hunter players, all of whom seemingly think they're playing zealots and slayers. Very mysterious indeed. And as always, I love you guys. Stay awesome. Peace out.
Don't forget to crush the like button.